networker is like a great interviewer.
I'm huge on authenticity, guys. It's a big part of my message.
Claim your local listings and don't get caught paying someone for your local listing.
If you want to be successful, you got to do 6 things 1,000 times, not 1,000 things 6 times.
And when in doubt, give to other people and don't expect anything in return. But in giving to other people and helping them, it almost always comes back.
It's using the power of partnership, creating trusted partner networks to work with you to make your company be an offer more than just you.
They've done 90% of the work. It's your job to do the last 10% to meet them in the middle.
Don't let the fear of losing be greater than the excitement of winning.
All right, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Ask Valor Masterminds podcast, brought to you by Advanced Septic Services. My name is Galen.
And I'm Joe.
We're coming at you virtually from the BD local studios in Tacoma, Washington. So, Joe, to our new listeners and viewers out there, can you tell everyone how our podcast came to be, please?
Sure. It first started out as a private Facebook group page. We wanted to bring different guest speakers, or not guest speakers, but different businesses to kind of talk about different topics related to business, ask questions, share tips. And then we thought, what a better way than to duplicate that same thing into a podcast where we bring on different guest speakers, bring up topics, and then talk about different topics somehow as it relates to business and entrepreneurs or marketing directors and things like that. So today I'm super excited because we're going to be talking about a topic that we have not covered yet. We're going to be talking about merchant services or credit card processing.
Awesome. So Joe, can you formally introduce our guest?
So we have Mr. Robert Grant. So Robert is a creator and a connector in both the music industry and merchant systems consulting. He understands business of all sizes and how challenging it can be to spend attention on operational aspects. That's where Robert comes in, to take time with each client and understand the nature of their business and customers. From there, he determines the programs and solutions that will best serve his clients. With an educational background in audio engineering, strong passion for the arts, and desire to build and support his local business community, he prides himself on his skills to properly analyze potential clients' companies and recommended strategies for improvement. Some of his accomplishments are he has his own company, which is called WNY Merchant Consultant. He started an online networking group on Facebook called Team Network, which is also on LinkedIn. He has his own music label called Stay Grinding Inc. He has a clothing brand as well called Stay Grinding Clothing. And then his, I don't know if you would call it what, a rap name, musician's name is Omega Reg. So I'm excited. Everyone, please welcome Robert.
Thanks.
All right, Robert. So quick question to follow up on that. So obviously you have a good creative skill set to solve problems and everything, but let's talk about the music game and everything and kind of what your inspiration, what got you going in the music industry to transition into what you're doing now. Tell us a little bit about that, your musical background. I know too, on your Wikipedia, there's some acting credits you have too. So we got a triple threat here in the house. So talk to us about your kind of influence and everything.
Okay, well, I grew up playing saxophone, so I'm a musician first and foremost. So I seen this majestic, instrument on TV. I was in about like second grade, and I was like, Mom, I want that instrument. I want to play it. And it was a saxophone. And my dad was like, oh, that boy, he ain't gonna play that thing. He just, but my mother bought it for me. And like within 2 weeks time, my mother said that, my father told me that too. He said in 2 weeks time, like I was playing stuff verbatim, without knowing how to read music yet.
Nice.
So I think, that was a God-given talent, just being a creative and a musician at a very young age. As I got older, and hip hop started to really, make its way, I started to transition and would play hip hop songs that had saxophone samples, like Smooth Operator with Big Daddy Kane. And then I started performing, like in high school, I started performing for the junior high kids. And then like all these, like I did this one show, I never forget this, my jazz band teacher, Lisa Pimentelli, I never shout her out in my interviews, but she definitely helped me hone my performance skills in my artistry. we performed at the junior high school, and like when I was done, like we was leaving, like all these junior high kids were running at the bus trying to get my autograph. It was the most insane thing. And she was like, "It's like I knew he was gonna make it. I knew he was gonna do something." After that, so that's pretty much how I started. And then as I got deeper into the music industry, I started my own publishing company. I got over 3,000 placements on TV and film right now.
Nice.
My pseudonym name is Omega Red. And, I just grew up around a lot of success in Boston, Massachusetts, and I got a lot of family members in the music industry and entertainment as well. So I just knew what that success looked like. So, and my transition into, I'm a serial entrepreneur. So a lot of people think that, are you going to stop doing credit card processing because they see the music stuff starting to really take off? I'm like, no, this is my business. Like, I'm still going to develop it. I'm never going to stop doing payment processing and consulting, because I'm meeting artists right now that want to open up businesses and don't have, a lot of resources that I have as a business consultant.
Nice.
Awesome. So before we move forward, our last guest, we had Matt Griffin on, Joe. We never had a voiceover artist on our podcast, so it's cool to get to speak with him. What was one of your main takeaways from when Mac was on?
It was really around getting coaches to work with so you could hone in your craft, because it's always evolving. Because he said, essentially, if you don't have the voice and you don't have the talent and you then don't have the passion behind everything that you're doing, you're never going to get the project. So it's something that I've heard from multiple guests, is to get coaches and always be learning about what you're doing.
And then for me, it was just that voice acting, like you're really acting. Like, it's not just reading, like it comes through when you hear it, right? The conviction and the audience you're speaking to, you can't just have anyone speak. So sometimes if someone outside of your company, they'll be your best spokesperson. So
absolutely.
Acting's tough, man. Like I must admit, like it's one of those things that I love to do, but it's tough. So, but I'm still honing my skills, even though I've been in some, pretty decent big films. I'm still honing my skills. So I just did this TV series called The Daviosos. It's like a comedy series on Scoville TV. So I'm excited about that as well.
Nice.
Awesome. So let's get to know you, the individual. So we ask our guests the same 3 questions all the time. So, and kind of focusing on the podcast. So our first question is, what are some early lessons learned as an entrepreneur? So you said you're a serial entrepreneur. What are some things you learned early?
If you don't invest in yourself, no one else will. That's for sure. You got to have not everyone's going to see your vision either. But you don't get upset with people when they don't see your vision, because it's your vision, right? So you just have to be consistent and just, make it materialize. And then everyone will get on board, and you might feel a little slighted because you're like, oh my God, now you want to be on board. You wasn't riding with me in the beginning. Right. But, I feel like you have worker bees and people who inspire the worker bees. So I'm the one that's going to inspire the worker bees.
Nice. So what's the best piece of advice that you've been given so far?
The best piece of advice, just have faith in myself. My mom, she's really like a huge backbone for me. She's really faith-based. And she's always saying, Robert, just keep the faith, keep doing what you're doing. You're going to be okay. So that's the best advice I've got, to be honest with you, from my mom.
Moms are always good at giving advice.
Yeah, for sure.
So since this is a marketing podcast, why is marketing your business important?
That's how people get to know you.
Awesome.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, that's how people get to know you, and it gives you brand recognition. It gives you authority, online and in person as well. So, I'm marketing myself every day. when I'm talking to people that I want to get referrals from, I'm marketing myself.
You don't want to be the best kept secret, right? So
no, I don't want to be the best kept secret. I want to help everybody. And I think that's what the problem is. A lot of people withhold information, and, they think there's not enough to go around, not enough money to go around, not enough connections to go around. There is.
Awesome. But before we move forward, something we're really proud of is our Valor Cares initiative. Joe, can you give a quick little push on our Valor Cares initiative, please?
Sure. So what it's all about is businesses need a foundation for their business, and that starts with a website. So our Valor Cares is just that. It's having the ability to build websites for free for businesses so that they can kind of get their message out there. And just so happens, Robert is actually a Valor Cares winner.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Yep. So yeah, that was really cool. So I definitely appreciate that and humbled, because I didn't feel like spending that money at that time, and it was like Joe came along and then was like, hey, fill out this form, see if you get picked, and I filled it out, and he gave me my one, I guess, or they picked me, selected me. So I'm humbled and I'm appreciative of that as well.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to get a testimonial video filmed. We'll get on a Zoom call and we'll talk about that. Come to the part of our podcast, our Advanced Septic Pump You Up quote of the day. And this is one from our previous guests, Bob Berg of The Go-Giver. Your true value is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment. So it's kind of ironic to talk about payment processing.
I know.
We're talking about value. And right before we went on, Robert shared, it's in your name, like stay grounded, right? So what's your thought on that? Just giving value, staying grounded with everything.
I definitely, when I first started the payment processing company, I definitely got humbled because, came in a new city. I was moved to Buffalo. Even though I had success in the music industry, a whole different beast, right? And I had to gain the trust of the people in the community. I needed their help, right? So I got humbled really quick. And the more I joined organizations and got part of nonprofits and, engaged with the community, and gave back and created connections for them, because I come from a place where it's very progressive. Where I'm at in Buffalo, it's kind of, my world's not segregated here, but there's a lot of segregation with cultures. And I can maneuver in a lot of different cultures because I'm an Air Force veteran, but I also grew up in a very multicultural city. If people didn't know, a lot of people don't think Boston's that multicultural, but it's super multicultural. I grew up around a lot of, I grew up around everything, and some races people ain't even heard of. So I just knew I can just maneuver in so many different circles. So I was starting to connect people from different cultures and different backgrounds that probably would never have met. So I just try to add as much value as possible, to people, even when they don't want it. Sometimes I force people to do things and I'm like, just get out your way, and or just be open to have a conversation, be open to meet someone, be open to see what your options are. So that, for me, that's how I created my value, and that's how my business, started to grow.
Awesome. And Joe, we had a recent guest, Casey Jaycox, Win the Relationship, Not the Deal, talking about value. We kind of spoke about it a little bit, but even if you lose a deal, talk to me a little bit about that value piece of, the relationship, and not kind of just being so focused on, I lost the deal or not.
And something I even picked up from him that most people don't do is, when you don't win the deal, most people fail to follow up with them to be like, hey, can you explain maybe why you went with this other company versus over me? Because then you're learning to develop yourself on what I can do to move forward.
Well, I used to do that, and you know what? I'm like, sometimes it could be nepotism because they got a family member or cousin. I had some numerous, experiences where I brought my proposal to a person and they went and brought it to the parent company, which she didn't know was the parent company, and they sent it back to me like, Rob, like, what's going on? I'm like, oh, I didn't know I didn't know that was your account. And I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, I gave you a proposal and you go back to the person who's not going to save you that money. Yeah. Some of them are just comfortable staying where they're at, but they do want to get a lower price. So they use you as a vehicle to get their, rates lowered.
All right. So let's get more into that Advanced Septic Services, DG No segment. So we hear this a lot, just not directly, but indirectly with payment processing. So obviously we have clients that take payments online. So I want to debunk some myths that we hear all the time. And we have an expert now joining us on our podcast to kind of break it down. This is one of my favorite ones that I've heard. My bank is always my best option for payment processing. Break that down for us.
Well, the bank is not, because the bank's not doing your processing. They're reselling the services to a direct processor or another reseller. What I find what happens in a lot of banks, I'm gonna give you an example. I had just signed up a client, bed and breakfast. I grew up with her, childhood friend of mine. I said, hey, I seen that she just opened up her, bed and breakfast. Like, I know you're gonna give me a business. Like, come on. And she was like, yeah, Rob. She's like, but the thing is that we got to process with the bank before, for 7 years. I said, you did a contract for 7 years to process with them.
Oof.
I said, that's insane. I said, so this was happening. The bank gave you the loan. You got to pay back the loan with the interest rate, right? Now they're also dipping in your credit card, your profit when it comes to credit card processing. They're sharing the residual income with the partner who's processing with you. So they're double dipping, And she was like, oh my God, I didn't realize that. So then I broke it down to her how the actual industry worked. And then she called me back a week later. She's like, yeah, and they were dragging the ball on setting up her e-commerce. They didn't see it as a priority, right? That's what happens. They sign you up and then like, oh, we'll get to you when we get to you.
Right.
And she's like, bro, I'm gonna go with you because we're not getting the service that we need and we need to get set up. So, and I got to set up.
What percentage of the businesses out there you think aren't educated with this process?
I think it's getting better now, but when I started about say 10 years ago, I mean, they didn't have no idea. They just said, my bank's taking care of that, oh, we're good where we're at. I was like, really, do you know? And then I said, a lot of my clients told me that until I did a forensic analysis for them. So they was like, oh, how could you save me this much money? That type of situation.
All right. So here's another one. It's hard to keep cardholder data safe. So we hear about these different breaches and everything like, oh, you're a small guy. I need to go with a big guy because it's more secure. Talk to us about cardholder data being safe out there.
Well, things are a lot better now, especially because of the pandemic and everyone's online and everything. So there's a lot more security that's involved. A lot of the processors hired some really expensive, IT professionals. Some of them come from, federal background too, when it comes to IT and stuff like that, so they can protect all this data. And then they started adding tokenization and all these other security platforms to make it really hard for someone to hack. So when you have a tokenization on your website or something like that, when they try to steal the information, it's broken up in pieces, so they can't put it together. So it is getting a lot better, but it was bad. And it was bad. Like I said, about 10 years ago, it was horrible. Like the credit card industry is like the wild, wild west. They're still making laws and rules for our industry.
All right. Here's one that I hear a lot. So especially when they talk about people like maybe potentially switching vendors, I won't get paid immediately. They want their money right now. So talk to us about that.
Well, it all depends on who your agent is or who you're doing business with. But, I make sure all my clients get funding the next day. But they have to settle and batch out their account by a certain time, like by 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, I think the latest. But most time you can get your money in 24 hours. You just got to ask your agent or the bank or whoever, your third party process, wherever you're dealing with, tell them you want your money, next day funding.
Yeah. So the last one, credit card processing fees are expensive.
So I think for this,
right? So talk to us about that, like the myth of it being way expensive.
Well, it all depends on what type of business they have too. Smaller businesses, they they're looking at their dollars a lot differently than $1 million, $2 million company. A lot of it's based on value too. What the merchant service is providing to the business owner. If they're not just processing, they're adding on these other solutions as well. It's all about whether is it worth, is the rate or whatever the add-on, solution is worth it, or helping them run their business more turnkey and relieving stress. Now, is credit card processing expensive? It doesn't have to be. But I mean, everything has a cost to it, right? You just got to be fair and give correct pricing. So that's what I kind of do. But I have a program now where I can save the business owner 100% of their processing fees. It's called the Edge Program Cash Discounting.
So let me ask you this then.
Yeah.
Can you break down the credit card processing fees to people? So for the layman people like myself who really don't understand it, can you just give a quick background of how it all works?
All right, so this is how it works. So you have the acquirers, which are the Visa, MasterCard, Discover. They're the actual companies, right? And they distribute, you know, the credit card, the banks distribute the credit cards to the bank, I mean, to the customers.
Mhm.
And that's how they make their transactions. So the bank gets paid off of the interchange, just like the company do. So the Visa, MasterCard, and Discover, they set all the rules and fees, which is called interchange. And the processors and the direct processors, they have no say in what Visa, MasterCard, Discover does when they change the interchange. So every 6 months, every April and every October, they change the interchange rate. And a lot of the third parties would add fees inside it, making it seem like it's coming from the interchange, making it seem like the rise in the interchange rate is coming from the acquirers, but it's actually them, trying to steal a few more pennies. So you have the interchange, which are the rules, which are the laws, I mean, not laws, but which are the rates and fees that the credit card companies give out. And it varies because it all depends on what type of card someone's using, right?
Okay.
If it's like a rewards card or a debit card or a signature debit. So you'll never really be able to get a hone on what an actual card is, but they do put a chart out each 6 months letting you know these are going to be the new interchange rates. But then you have the discount rate, which comes from the reseller and the credit card processor. So you have that combined together is called an effective rate.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how that works.
So why do they change that interchange? Why do they change it every 6 months?
Be honest with you, I don't know.
Is it just because they can?
Just because they can, I think they adjust. I think they go through this, cycle and looking at how many merchants are paying whatever, and then they just adjust it accordingly to, I guess to, I would say to ramp up. A lot of them do it to, make more money, or they may lower interchange in one other industry, but another industry is high. And I think it all depends on sometimes it's like if it's a gun shop or high risk or something like that. I think it all depends. The risk, whatever the risk is with that business, I think that's what it depends on.
I got a quick question.
Yeah.
So where does cryptocurrency fall into everything? Because I've seen a couple, like Tom Brady pushes a couple crypto credit cards and everything with this whole currency. How does this play into your space? How does that all? I'm not dealing
with anything with crypto when it comes to credit card processing. None of that. But I did have a good run on Crypto 300 with the mortgages. They were selling mortgages. So I did had a quick run on that, but I had to pay a hell of a capital gains tax on that when I pulled the money out.
Yeah, because you just hear it just becoming more part of the narrative and everything. So.
Yeah, that's not going to happen in the credit card industry for a while. That's not going to happen. But they're trying to do other things. But I don't think the merchant service industry they're having a hard time dealing with marijuana and all that stuff right now. So it's like that. I don't think crypto. I believe they're not going to be able to do crypto for actual merchant transactions for I say another 5 years.
So you brought up the marijuana industry. Is there credit card? Or let me ask it, can cannabis stores now accept payments through debit credit cards?
Yes, and I can provide that software solution for them as well.
Is there, besides you, is there any other, as a good plug for yourself, but besides you, are banks probably don't offer it, correct?
It all depends on, you need a bank to process, to process credit cards, for credit card payment processing. You need to partner with the bank. So they're just the particular banks that are willing to do business with me.
Gotcha.
So let's get into some do's and don'ts of credit card processing, like what to know. So for people out there that maybe aren't happy with their current vendor or someone starting a business, what are some a couple of takeaways that you could leave with our audience about what to look for, maybe what not to do,
Okay.
Some smart tips, please.
First, talk to a few processors, see what your options are. Just don't go with one. See what your options are. 2, make sure that you understand what you're reading on your merchant statement. So you want to know what your effective rate is. A lot of people are like, what's your rate? What's your rate? That doesn't matter, because someone can give you a 10th of a percent of a rate and then give you 25 cents on a per transaction, and that will create an effective rate. So you want to know what your whole effective rate's going to be, not just the discount transaction with the interchange. You want to know what your whole effective rate was going to be. And then when you're looking at your statement, look at it every 6 months, every April and October. That's when you'll see what they're doing with the interchange and how they're going to change it and change your rates. And then one other thing, when you're looking at your credit card statement, make sure you see other fees. That's where they get that's where they're putting most of those fees in. So it's other fees. They'll tell you discount rate, but then they'll say other fees. So you process about $20,000, right? And then your processing payment for those transactions is like, say $150. But then you got $300 in other fees. Like, what are these other fees? And that's what you need to make sure you know.
What about contract lengths? Should you be signing with merchants that put you on a year, 2 years? You just mentioned 7 years, which I don't know why someone would sign for 7 years. But...
Yeah, I don't know that either. Well, it all depends. You know, sometimes when I'm dealing with a merchant and, you know, I'm going to be honest, if like they give me a hard time and busting my balls, you know what I mean? I'm just like, and I'm committing to you that I'm going to, you know, give you this rate. So I need a commitment from you. So I'm going to need you to sign, you know, off on the termination fee because, you know, I'm promising you that I'm going to give you the rate and it's going to stay that way. So I need you to promise me that you're going to, you know, continue to do business with me with this, you know, 3 years to 36 months. So sometimes I'll do that because I need a commitment from someone because I'm committing to them. But other than that, I really waive the termination fee. I don't sign anyone up. I just don't give a termination fee. So I'm pretty confident in what I can do. So I haven't done that in a long time, but I've done it in the past.
Are there
How about
different...
for brick and mortar stores that need the actual, like the devices and everything?
POSs, I can provide all those. I got smart POSs, smart terminals, mobile. I got it all.
So do different businesses need different types of processing machines?
It depends on what you know, if they want something super robust, like a quick service, you know, fast food, moms and pops, they're not going to need something robust where they're going to need, you know, like a printer in the back or, you know, or a screen for, you know, for the kitchen line and stuff like that. It all depends on I guess, you know, how big the business owner is, you know, but some people like roofing companies, they just do a lot of invoicing and billing. So I just give them invoicing and billing platform to send to, you know, their clients and they just click on it and make a payment.
For those home service businesses, does it integrate with like their existing invoicing system? If it's like QuickBooks or something they use, right?
Yeah, I can integrate with. I can integrate with QuickBooks. Sometimes it's another software that they allow us to integrate with. So I have like a suite of like gateway solutions, because that's what it is. It's a gateway connecting to the internet. I mean, not the internet, to the website, or connecting to their POS, or connecting to their like what's it called? It was like was QuickBooks and stuff like that. Right. So yeah, so I can integrate with QuickBooks, and then I have other solutions like Authorize.net, or you know, all I have to do is look at a company and see what their gateways are, and then you know, and then if I have those gateways, I'm able to integrate with any system. But I have quite extensive gateway solutions.
So let me ask you this question: what makes what you do better than what other companies do?
It's a partnership with me. Like when they sign with me, I just don't walk away. Most people don't even know who their merchant is anymore. Like after a couple of years, they're like, well, who's the agent? I don't know. He just came in one day from the bank or whatever, and just, you know. So when they sign up with me, it's a partnership. Once they sign up with me, that's when I start the business development. I try to find ways to help them save money in all aspects of their business to keep their operating costs low, because the margins are already thin for them anyway.
Right. Awesome.
So it's creating that relationship, that giving, right? That giving, being creating value, right?
So can you work? Do you only work with people that are close to you physically, or can you work with anyone really?
I can work with anyone, to be honest with you. It's whether I want to work with them or not.
All right. It's a flip side. It could go both ways, right? You may not want to work with that particular.
Yeah, I'm at the point now where I can pick and choose my clients.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think we appreciate your insights for today. But before we close, Joe, one last plug for our Valor Cares initiative. We're looking to find winners in the early part of 2022. Talk to us a little bit more about that, please.
Yep. So if you own a business and you may not have a website, or you have a website and it's just a little bit outdated and old, or you have a website but you're paying, $200-300 a month to have every single month in, month out, just go to our website, the askvalormasterminds.com, click on the Valor Cares tab, submit your information, and then a committee goes through and picks, a couple winners every single month, and who knows, it could be you next.
Yeah. And Robert's a good testimonial for being one of our Valor Cares winners. And I didn't know you were an Air Force veteran, so thank you, since we're filming this podcast in November, so it's still honoring our veterans and everything.
Yep. Thanks for your service.
Yeah. What's that slogan? It's like I'm not only the president, I'm the client. Like, I'm just not a fan of Valor. I'm also a client.
There you go. So yeah. So we appreciate you jumping on. We'll have your contact information. Our audience can freely contact you. That's all right, Robert? We'll put your
That's
stuff
fine.
out
Yep.
there.
Yeah. Give me a call.
Questions.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Ask Valor Masterminds podcast, brought to you by Advanced Septic Services. My name's Galen.
I'm Joe.
And I'm coming at you virtually from the BD Local Studios in Tacoma, Washington. Robert, thanks for joining us all the way from the East Coast. Thanks for watching, guys.
I'm humbled. I appreciate you giving me a platform to speak and get educate. So I appreciate it.